Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
All your days are belong to us.
We'll do it live!
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never miscommunication.
So this is the first video blog.
It's over 9,000!
My name is Foxy.
The balls are inert.
Objection! Do a barrel roll!
Don't take me, bro!
It's a trap! It's time to do.
Hey everybody, welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM, and if you're listening to us via nerdtoknowmedia.com, my name is Dara Connor and you're listening to Nerd to Know Basis. I'm joined on the line by Mr. Bren O'Rourke. What's up, Bren?
Not a lot.
We sound different. We sound different this week.
Yeah,
we sound like a radio. We sound like
crisp and clean, like I should always sound.
We sound like an actual radio show instead of
I do. An
80s throwback machine like we were on the phone. I have to say that was fun though. I enjoyed that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's always nice to do a phone in for the just bring it back to the old school days.
It's weird. It's the radio like nerd in me that's like, hey, you know. There always should be some phone-in segment just because it sounds more professional, but it really doesn't.
Sounds real, man.
I have to say, straight off the bat, I'm a bit annoyed with YouTube because we're putting the stuff over on YouTube as well, and they hate copyright. Like anything slightly copyrighted, they're like, no. So songs and stuff like that. So we're gonna have a new intro. It'll probably be done when the show goes out, and you know, all the stuff we're gonna have to use like public domain music or stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Come on, you know, I don't know. I just this copyright algorithm thing is ridiculous.
I don't even think we'd get away with doing the Cash for Gold song from South Park, which is, you know, very imitatable.
Yeah, just because it's too.
Because it's just humming basically. Is what the song is. It's
but like
it's
crazy. Like Twitch don't mind, and you know we stream on Twitch. Well, I stream on Twitch pretty much every day, but you know. If we're recording this show or whatever, it usually goes out on Twitch and they don't mind. But and same with the podcast feeds and that. But you know, just to avoid the issues that comes. That's why if it sounds a bit different with music we're using, that's why. But guys, if you have anything you want us to bring up or talk about, you can actually reach us over on nerdtoknowmedia.com. There's a contact email address and stuff like that. So it's never been easier to actually message us and let us know what's going on. This is the second
always
show.
at us too.
No, don't at me.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, at him hard. At WDV, what was it? At Dara WV.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a good friend.
Good friend. You can also reach us on Nerd2, the number 2. No. What's it? 92.5. So that's our other Twitter account. And here's the thing: this is the second show that the folks are getting on the feed because we did one with Dave. I did one with Dave Roberts there on Sunday, and that was a fun show. I haven't talked with Dave in over like 3 years, so
that's just so cool though, man.
Yeah, man. It was just like, you know, bringing back all the lads from the desk who hate wrestling now.
Yeah, but it's so like, I mean, I don't know why, but in like the last like couple of weeks, like there's been this nice theme of seeing old friends come up, like because Young Justice came back for the first time in about since what 2012. I feel like the last season was, and it's came back and it's been like that old friend where you're like, oh, it's been a while since I've seen them. I wonder if it's going to be weird. And you're like, no, it's like no time has passed whatsoever. This is awesome.
Well, that's Clone Wars is coming up in summer as well. Same thing. Clone Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't know. Like, did you watch Young Justice when it was on?
I didn't watch it when it was on. I watched it after
retroactively.
So it's the same with Teen Titans. The initial Teen Titans, I didn't catch when they were on, but I watched subsequently, and I really liked all of them.
Like, I mean, so like you're able to watch the new season, new season pretty much live,
pretty much straight in. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, to me, Young Justice is the best DC animated show that isn't Batman the Animated Series.
Controversial, but yeah, it's kind of hard to
but I
argue
mean, you're basically all you have to really compare it to in terms of like quality after the Batman the Animated Series is the Justice League series.
Justice League is
Superman.
good, but
that's it, really.
Teen Titans is good though. Like the
Teen Titans is really, really good. But
not Teen Titans Go now. Not Teen Titans Go.
Storytelling quality to Young Justice that just really edges it over for me.
Yeah, I think it's because it is that kind of, it walks that line that X-Men, X-Men the Evolutions walked. It was around the same time where it's kind of like more adult and kid friendly, but still you kids go watch it.
It's also like oddly uncompromising in going, oh, you just really have to like accept that there's stuff that isn't really going to get explained for you here. And with most shows, I would really hate it, but for some reason, there's something about Young Justice that makes me go, actually, I kind of really like this here. It's one of those things that should never work, but somehow did on this one occasion.
It's the time frame it came out in.
Yeah, but it's like, it's also like, I think in any time frame it came out in, it would have been a very daring move to go in season 2 and say, oh yeah, we're skipping ahead 5 years. It's a daring move, and to like also not really explain a lot of the stuff that's different. Like, one of the best examples is Beast Boy, where he was in one episode as a human in the first season, and he was given a blood transfusion by Miss Martian, and then the second season, he's Beast Boy. And there's no explanation for how that transformation occurred, other than the fact that you go, well, she has Martian DNA, so I guess it makes sense. And that's all you have to go on, like,
Yeah, it's like just deal with it.
Yeah, just roll with this. Like,
it'll be grand.
And yeah, I'm loving this season. I think it's really, really good. It's every bit as good as Titans is disappointing. I would say. Have you seen the Titans show yet?
No, I didn't. I saw the ad and I'm like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes on Netflix, and like I'm struggling with it in the sense of going, is it good? Is it bad? And it can't be all bad if I feel compelled to watch episode 3, but I still have like some misgivings with misgivings are starting to arise, but I think that's more just because of there's a lot of stuff they're doing it that I find really tired, and like so like one of the like pretty much the main character of the show is Dick Grayson, and they haven't really explained why he left Bruce, but basically he was like, I was kind of turning into him. So he's a bit more like Dick has always been a very much like a bright, sarcastic kind of guy, and now he's just a bit more brooding. And I'm not a big fan of like unless they actually do commit to the character development being that he turns into the person he used to be. I don't really want to see the show because they're just going to do what Arrow did, where it's another bright, kind of sarcastic, kind of just like. Not not overly serious guy who's just turned into a brooding, boring person because the show didn't know how else to write his internal conflict than just going, he broods over stuff now because it's easier.
I don't know whether you still make a Nightwing show or a Nightwing movie, but
yeah, but it's like, I mean, they basically wanted to make a show of Batman in it, but they couldn't have Batman, so they just decided to force Dick Grayson into being Batman. And I'm not like.
He actually is the second best Batman ever, though, to be fair.
Oh, totally. But he's also he's also objectively the person that, like, if you're going, well, if I had to sit down and have a coffee with either Bruce or Dick Grayson, I'd could have picked Dick Grayson, to be honest with you.
Dick isn't a
psychopath.
psychopath.
He'll have a conversation with me, And
he isn't a psychopath.
Yeah.
Compared to Batman, who is, well, sorry, not Batman, Bruce Wayne. He is a psychopath.
But you know what I mean, though. It's just
like, look, I'm still on the fence about it. I've kind of lost faith completely with DC's live action, except for Constantine. Constantine was great, but even then they cancelled that and he went into Arrow, and it's like,
yeah. Well, it's just nice to kind of like that actor got to play him.
Still plays him. As well. Still plays him. He plays him in the cartoon series as well.
Yeah, and he played him in the Justice League Dark film, which was really good.
That was very good too, actually.
you know. But like
there's your Constantine though. You know, they should have just made a movie about it. But DC still don't know what they're doing. I think with Aquaman was a good start. Shazam was coming out soon. I think that was a good start to it too. But man, I'm just waiting for that experiment to finish. I do have to say though, while we're on the TV topic, did you watch Channel Zero at all?
Which again?
Channel Zero.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh man! All right, so this is probably something that no one actually watched, but it's a show that is quite good. It's a shame nobody watched because it's one of the best original TV shows out there. So it's, you know what creepypastas are, right? Yeah, so this is a show that started a couple of years ago. It has 4 seasons, and it's a show about creepypastas.
Okay, so to explain what a creepypasta is, to those who aren't initiated,
right? So
basically, like creepypasta was like kind of like a play on words of copy paste, where the idea would be that like someone would have a quote unquote scary story, and then people would like copy and paste them all over the all over the internet. So like, I mean, Slenderman is probably the most famous creepypasta.
Yeah,
you know, but there's loads of examples of it. Like,
and another one is like the haunted Pokemon games, and all that kind of stuff.
Or like, I mean, you could go down like there's like tons of different stuff, like the haunted Pokemon games, loads for video games all over. Like there was one for the
Hi Brian and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like the Sonic the Hedgehog one.
Yeah,
was another. Yeah, like there's like I mean, you could look into the creepypasta for like 5 minutes or for 5 hours, and to be honest, you'll enjoy yourself just as much during that period. But you won't really have learned much more past that 5 minutes.
No. But the reason why I mentioned it is because this show was quite good. Like it took the approach of actually writing each season in the vein of American Horror Story, but focusing on the creepypastas. So the first season, it started in 2015 with the first season being based on Candle Cove, which was a show that only, you know, certain kids remember, but it was really spooky and it's very, very good. You know, and had this villain, or wasn't villain, but this character where it's like all made out of human teeth. But like,
that's cool.
If you actually look at it, it's viscerally disgusting. And it went on for 4 seasons. Max Landis actually produced the first 2 seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, before it came out, he was a horrible person.
Unfortunately, that happened.
But look,
unfortunately, I'm not really.
I don't know.
How does that word work with that sentence?
I don't know, man.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're trying to say. Like, it sucks. Like Max Landis's accomplishments were great.
But
and then you're like,
he's very much a case of like
Chris Benoit.
One of those people where
he's like a Chris Benoit character.
I wouldn't say he's on that level of extremity.
No, but in the same way where you know, Chris Benoit.
I'd say it's like I kind of put him in the same kind of group as I would put like Louis C.K. where where like there's that thing of going, well, I kind of struggle with it because I don't really like my views don't fall in line with where either like where don't fall in line with the actions of those people, but at the same time I go like I just agree with them about how Superman is. It's not really like I mean I'm sure like there are things that other horrible people have said or that have said in their lifetime that I would have gone, I agree with that. Like I mean if it was a case of like if Stalin was like onions are the worst vegetable of all, I'd be like Stalin is right. That is true. Like, you know, there's not much. I mean, it's one of those things where like I think it's a shame that he tried to hide it as much as he has. But like I mean, if you're a crappy person, you're going to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but, you know, that aside, anyway. So the show was very well written, and it went on for 4 seasons, but now it's officially cancelled by Sci-Fi, so...
Well, they cancel the good shows, so that's par for the course.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but what I say for anyone, and this includes you, Bryn, watch it. It's very, very good. It's one of those shows where you're not expecting it to be anyway good, and then you're like, oh, this is actually excellent. So, you know, you don't need any kind of primer or anything to watch it. Just sit down, have a good time. It's only four seasons. Candle Cove is the first one, and It's very good. It's an underrated classic. And you know what? I think in about 5-10 years, it will be one of those. It'll be like Firefly, where people are like, "Oh my god, this is a great show."
Dark Place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of those shows that people didn't get to watch, but then found out about, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's a bit of sad news that I saw today, and it's just like, oh, all right, whatever.
Well, like it's such a weird thing. Like, sci-fi has such a bad history for canceling really, really beloved shows.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the first one that kind of pops straight into my mind is Stargate Universe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know why they canceled that?
Why?
SmackDown Live. SmackDown was coming to town, and they had to free up some time on their scheduling, and Universe wasn't performing, so it got the boot, and then came SmackDown, and look how that turned out. They're not even on the network anymore.
But like, you know, it's one of those things as well where I'm glad we have a way to back this up. Like, you know, the same thing happened. Same thing happened with Black Mirror, though, where it was kind of on Channel 4, then it kind of disappeared and made it off Netflix. I wouldn't be surprised if Channel Zero actually makes its way over to Netflix,
or to Amazon. I mean,
or to Amazon, yeah,
are starting to get much more competitive. Like the, you know, Amazon picked up the rights for The Expanse last year, and they're going to do season 4. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And like, I'm looking forward to that because The Expanse is legit the best sci-fi show going on television right now. And if you haven't watched it, why have you not watched it? I've definitely talked about it in the last year or so.
You have. To me,
The Expanse is awesome.
It's on my list.
Like, yeah, but this is the problem too, is that like, you go, oh, this show is great, and people are like, yeah, I have loads to watch, so
it's not that I have loads to watch, I just have no time. That's but
this is what I mean. Like, loads to watch is like, I have, like, my time is pretty much filled.
Although what I have to say, I was at the gym there today, and they have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I could actually catch up on TV here.
Yeah. Or you know what you could also do, Darry? You could also catch up on our wonderful podcast on Spotify.
You can. Yes, you can. Yeah. And if you just search Nerd to Know Media, you'll be able to get every single show we've done, including specials that we have as well every now and then. Working on...
I'm good at this.
working on some, getting some more interviews as well, Bryn, to the show. And, you know, we were reaching out to one of our other shows that's on Phoenix FM. And we'll probably do a crossover with them in the near future, so it's pretty cool. Have to give a huge shout out to the guys over on Genius Hack. A really, really, really fun show. It's super, super nerdy, even more than us, because they're actually talking about.
And that's saying something.
Well, they talk about actual like science stuff. We just talk about nerdy stuff. So they have
science be praised.
They have some good shows. One on dark matter, the future of science, the rise of artificial intelligence, and are we cyborgs? So they've only been going since December, but they're hockeying out shows at a rate that puts us to shame. So you can get those on Spotify as well. Just looking at Genius Hack. So yeah, they're a good bunch of lads and a girl. So you know, fair play.
A great bunch of folks.
So yeah, I have to say, man, I was playing a lot of Mortal Kombat recently. I've got super into Mortal Kombat, which is weird because I didn't think I loved Mortal Kombat so much, but I do. And I was playing Mortal Kombat XL, so I'm almost finished it. I'm about 93% into finishing it. And then I've been watching a bunch of videos on it in general, and I'm like, wow, I think this might actually be my favorite fighting series of all time. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I never had that affiliation with it. I
didn't think I did either.
Yeah, I just found that like I love the story, but I don't like the mechanics or how combos are done. It's just I just never really was able to engage with it. I've much preferred Tekken was always much more in my speed for I like how the combos work in it because I feel like you can kind of figure out how the chains work a bit better. Because like when a combo doesn't work, you go like, oh, it makes sense that it doesn't work. And then whereas I find that when in the way that the Mortal Kombat games are made, the Mortal Kombat combat system works, is that like if you don't do things exactly right, you're like, I have no idea what I did wrong here.
Well, see, there's a couple of things on that. Like, it's the games have changed so much that they are pretty much 3 different type of games. The first one is, you know, your 90s combat. The one that came out around the same time as Tekken are not the best games, like Deadly Alliance and stuff like that, but the newer ones, they're so fluid and fun. Oh yeah, like I'm even specifically talking about the newer ones because I remember I got I got Mortal Kombat X, and I also got the what's the Justice League game? Injustice. Yeah, I like Injustice a lot, actually. But like Injustice again has the exact same. It's the same engine, like they're the same game. They're exactly the same game. It's just like, but like, you know what I mean? But they have the combat works where sometimes you can just do a combo and you go like, I don't understand what I did wrong with this combo, but it didn't go through fully, and I'm not a big fan of that. Fair. At the moment, actually, speaking of fighting games, because for anyone who has a PS4, I don't know if you saw the January sale, but oh my god, there were some incredible sales going on in the sale this year. What'd you get? I got UFC 3 for 20 quid. Wow, that's not bad. Yeah, well, considering it's 80, it's pretty good. Yeah, no, there were some pretty good. So I did nab some pretty good deals over the Christmas. I will have to say, great sale. The one thing that like disappointed me the most about UFC 3 was that I couldn't beat the crap out of terrible friend CM Punk, which is what I really terrible friend. Oh my god, is that a new gimmick for you, Brent? Terrible friend CM Punk. New gimmick. New gimmick. When was he ever a good friend? Is what I want to know. I don't know. There was some pretty cool, some pretty outlandish rumors there about AJ Lee that apparently she was difficult to work with too. Oh, shocking! And I'm like, well, she did marry him. Obviously, they're very similar in some way, or they wouldn't have stayed together. So yeah, if you read the book, if you read her book, you're like, yeah, the two of you belong together. Like, I don't know. Apparently, they're nice in person, though. To be fair, comic book shops. Like, I mean, there's a difference between being nice to a complete stranger and like telling a friend, "Don't worry about this court case that you could have easily avoided. I'll support you financially," and then going, "Sorry, bro, you have to pay a mortgage that you definitely can't afford." Like, you're on your own. Yeah, that's pretty harsh. Like, there is a difference between the two of them. Like, being nice to someone for 5 minutes and being nice to someone for 5 years are two very different things. Fair. But speaking of some bad news, I will have to say, actually, dude, I'm devastated by this. This really sucks. Mm-hmm. Microsoft is going to end support for Windows 7 next year. Yep. Why? Because that's what they do. Like, everybody likes Windows 7. Nobody likes Windows XP too, but like that didn't stop them from ending support with it. Yeah, I know, but Windows XP was banjaxed. You know, Windows 7 is great. I'm using Windows 7 now as we speak, and I love it. You know, I think it's great. And if I put Windows 10 on this PC, it'll kill it dead. So I'm like, oh yeah, totally. But that's what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, oh, there's a really, really simple solution for you, Dara. I'm not going to put Linux on it. I have my Linux machines. But Dara, it needs to turn. It needs to become a Linux host. A Linux host. Actually, we should have a Linux segment every week where we just this week in Linux. This week in Linux or Linux Watch. I think they're pretty cool. So there was a good series on YouTube where your man actually is like, hey, I'm gonna get the worst machine I can and upgrade it. So he took this absolute piece of garbage and upgraded it to okay specs, and then he ran Hannah Montana Linux on it. He's like, look how great this is. I'm sorry, and he apologized. This is Justin Bieber distro as well. Oh, I'm not surprised. Yeah, I saw it and it's like Bebian. That's what it's called. Oh my god, Bebian, of course. Bebian. I love it. I saw like a Reddit thread about that where someone was like, why would anyone think that's a good idea to make that? It's like, because it's really funny. Like, look at this person thinking that making a distro for a pop star is really funny. There's actually I was trying to do something there during the week, and I didn't want to put full Ubuntu on the VM. So I started looking for lightweight VMs, and Lubuntu, which is like low Linux. It's actually great. It runs so nice. But now I did just put full Ubuntu on it because I needed it to install Rails on it, and it works so like it's incredible how little RAM and resources it actually needs to run perfectly on a VM compared to Windows.
And then there's like Lubuntu, which is
smaller
even,
again.
Even smaller again, and it's great. Like, I mean, it's like for anyone who has like an old laptop, and they're going, well, like, what can I do? Like, put on Lubuntu onto it, and
it's a question that I see a lot. You know, people are like, I should have scrapped my old laptop, and it's like, no, or even a desktop, because there's loads you can do. Actually, we have the same thing here at home, where we have a desktop that's, you know, XP, right? A Ren XP, and it's just sitting there, and we're talking about stripping it and turning it into a NAS, which is something you can do. You can get Open Media Vault, which is a Linux distro as well, and it just turns the whole thing into a network, basically a private cloud.
Yep.
So, you know, that's something that we're looking at doing, and I would say, you know, do that. Unless you
hook up a VPN to that, and away you go.
Yeah, well, unless you need a computer, you know. If you need a computer, then install Ubuntu, or, you know, what's it? LastOX is open source one as well, and then there's one. There's loads of different Zorin. That's also looks like with Windows. I don't know. There's this weird resistance towards the Linux for some reason. We talked about before we went on air that in the workforce, the IT workforce, like 20% of people have Linux.
Yeah, but it's
crazy.
I think it's one of those, because like it's just seen as a bit chaotic and a bit like a bit of a head wreck. And like, to be fair, like, I have Ubuntu on a partition on my machine, and I have to reinstall the drivers for my Wi-Fi card every 2 weeks. I don't know why.
Fair enough.
I have to do it every 2 weeks, and it's really annoying. And there's no help for it online, and it's really annoying. And then I just get frustrated and go, I'm putting on Windows again, and then I put on Windows, and Windows runs fine, which is really annoying because I want to use my Ubuntu partition.
Yeah, Windows runs fine until it doesn't, and stuff like this is one of the times when it doesn't. And I'm like, I like Windows 7. Leave Windows 7 alone. Like, I heard that they were going to bring out
leave 7 alone.
They were going to bring out support where you could pay yearly or something like that for it. If Windows brought out like a 10-year pack where you'd pay a fixed fee of like €40 for support, I'd pay that.
Yeah, but you know it wouldn't.
No, it would be a ridiculous amount of money. It'd be like, you know, €40 a year, and I'm
you'd be basically paying enterprise prices for a home OS.
But like, what's it? Numbers came out there that Windows 10 actually did take over 7 around the world recently. So you know, there is that. But I don't know. Like, it's frustrating that, you know, I'm probably gonna either have to put 10 or risk putting 10 on this, or else strip it down to Linux, because it's just like.
Yeah, well, you know what you're going to do then, strip it down to Linux.
Yeah, probably. It's just annoying. But hey, you know, for anyone who we lost there, it's like, what's Linux? It's like, guys, seriously, Linux is cool. Actually, speaking of which, I had a Raspberry Pi there, and I wanted to figure out how to SSH into it without using Wi-Fi. You can SSH into it via USB. So
SSH, this is secure shell. What's the H for again?
It's secure shell. That's what it is. Yeah.
Secure shell. Yeah. So, like, basically the idea is that you're able to securely just remote into the command line of the PC. It's very, like, for in terms of, like, for admin purposes, it's great because it means you don't actually have to be you don't even have to really be on site.
No.
With it, you can just, as long as you're on the same network, you can actually just remotely access it, and it's very, very useful for being able to move around different systems. But it's more common to see it done with Linux. You can actually install libraries and stuff like that for Windows, but using remote desktop protocols tends to be much more popular. That way you get to have the whole graphic user interface
exactly.
to play with. Well.
Exactly.
So,
And the same principle applies here, but the difference is you don't have to be over internet. You just plug directly into the USB and it works that way. You go into your local. So
that's nice. That's so cool.
Yeah, so because I got a Raspberry Pi Zero just randomly because the Pi Hut were selling them for like a tenner over Christmas. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need this, and I didn't need it, but it's just fun to carry around a Linux system, just to mess with it when you don't want to install a VM. So yeah, you just remote into it. It's pretty cool. And I think we're gonna take a break there to let everyone's brain kind of chill out after that heavy nerd talk, because this is Nerd to Know Basis after all.
Yeah.
And sometimes we like to talk about really technical, nerdy, you know what. So we're going to take a break, and when we get back, a whole bunch more here on Nerd to Know Basis of Phoenix 92.5 FM. Okay, so you're listening to the podcast and you're wondering, well, what if I want to listen live and I'm not in Ireland? Well, don't worry. Go over to www.nerdtoknowmedia.com. On the webpage at the bottom, there is a link to the Phoenix FM stream. Check out the details of the show you want to listen to, and you'll be able to catch us live. Don't forget to tweet in nerd2, the number 2, no 92.5, or of course you can contact us via the contact tab on the website over on nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
And we're back, guys, after that quick break. So, Bryn, I saw a movie last night. It was very good. Very good. Very interesting. So, I don't know how I feel about it. I wrote the review, so I know how I feel about it, but I'm still kind of, that point where you're watching a movie and you're like, what did I actually think about it? It was the new Christian Bale movie called Vice.
Oh, cool.
So it tells the story of Dick Cheney's rise to power and the whole post 9/11 thing.
Yeah.
It's done by the director of The Big Short, Step Brothers, Anchorman, all that kind of stuff. So, if you like The Big Short, you'll like this. It has the same kind of tone to it.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
It's good. It is good. But
The Big Short.
The Big Short's great.
Big Short is one of the best films of this decade.
But,
in my opinion,
it's not as good as The Big Short.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot. It's weird though, because it's pretty much the same cast of The Big Short, right?
That's so strange.
Steve Carell plays Donald Rumsfeld, right?
Oh wow, awesome.
No. The makeup and hair is so good in this movie at certain points that you forget that you're watching the actors.
Steve Carell.
Yeah, Steve Carell. Awesome. Steve Carell, but then he does the mannerisms, Donald, and you're like, oh my god, that's Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, but I mean, Steve Carell's always had this reputation for being a character performer.
He's great, and Tyler Perry's in it. He plays Colin Powell, and it's like, wow, he looks exactly like Colin Powell. It's scary.
That's kind of awesome.
It is. It's great, and he plays a really good part. Tyler Perry in serious roles, it's just like, wow, they come out of nowhere. You're not expecting them to be as good as they are, and you're like, wow, that's kind of fantastic.
Do you remember when McConaughey decided to act again, and you're like, yeah, I forgot you could act.
Actually, that happened with Amy Adams for me in this movie. I'm like, oh my god, Amy Adams, you're fucking great. She is like the heart of the movie. And you from watching so much, obviously she's great in Arrival, but for the past couple of years I'm watching her as, Discount Lois Lane. And it's like, oh wow, you're actually a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
I forgot you could do this. It's a very good. So all across the board, character wise, the story is really gripping and engaging. However, and this is a big one for me, there were two major criticisms I had in this one, right? So the first one was the pacing is all over the place.
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
Pet peeve.
And the thing about it is because it jumps back and forward, so you're like, okay, right. So once you get that, it's fine, and it's like. It's the first part of 3 stories, right? So, for me to understand this, you can't just go, Bush bad, Obama good, Trump bad. Yeah. That's too simplistic. So, while it doesn't come off like that, because you're missing the rest of the story, it comes off, as what did he call it? liberal bait bashing or something like that, you know, where it's very liberal, you know, and it's so bad at the end of the movie they actually lampshade it. They do like this mid skit where it's like, hey, there's one thing that bothered me about this movie. It comes off very liberal. And then this guy stands up and he's just like, oh, you know, you're a redneck. What do you know? It was all about facts. And then you have like a little fight and it's made a joke out of, right? Because there are points where you're like, it does kind of feel like that, but it's all facts.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, it's like because they're missing the rest of the story. So yeah, during this time, Bush was horrific. And the stuff that Cheney did was horrific, and but they make him very sympathetic as well, which is crazy. Like, I didn't realize all this stuff was happening to his family, where his daughter was a lesbian, and all this kind of stuff. I was like, wow, I had no idea about this, you know. And what he does, it's really good. Christian Bale is a great actor, obviously, and you know the way he acts in this movie is very, very good. But for me, I think this is like the part one of a story. Part two would probably be The Big Short, right?
Yeah.
And part three is a movie that isn't made yet. And that movie would be, you know, Snowden would be the only thing that would fit in there, where it kind of goes through the crimes of Obama and how he extended the stuff that Cheney did into leading up into Trump.
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't exist. So because there's not a true line, you're just sitting here going, this is very one-sided, but it's all 100% true. You know? So it really comes off very unbalanced, and it's because the balance isn't there. So for anyone who's concerned about that, you know, watch The Big Short after it, or watch Snowden, and that gives you a very clear picture of America post 9/11, which I respect what they did. It's a great movie, but you're reading reviews and they're very mixed, and it's because of these issues. People are like, it's very unbalanced. It's all over the place. I'm like, yeah, because it's not a full story. It's part one of the rest of the story, which The Big Short kind of falls in the middle.
It's also like for American culture, it's like 9/11 was just such a major. Like before 9/11, about people, like the big event in American history people talked about was Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
you know, and 9/11 is that moment for people, and like that moment now, and like, I mean, the dust is settled enough now that we can kind of look at it nearly 20 years later.
I said, man, like there is a part in the movie when they show 9/11.
Yeah,
and it starts off obviously with what happened in 9/11 and that, right? Still, when they show it, it's still really eerie.
Yeah.
Because you remember, like, we grew up in the shadow of 9/11. I remember being in school when that happened.
Yeah. I remember coming home from school and seeing the second tower fall.
Wow. Yeah, I was in English class and we were told, and we got to go home, and, you know, it was just kind of, you know, I remember when that happened. It was, I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. But it was crazy because, like,
that whole time period, you know, I remember like it was yesterday. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. But, like, I mean, I think especially when you look at how America responded to it overall, like, this isn't me bashing any one person or any one administration or any, you know, this is just like the overall picture. The response was exceptionally poor in almost every measurable way. First of all, the attack itself did massive damage to the American market straight away. It also meant that that the internal resources they had for the CIA and the FBI were stretched thinner than they ever were.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I really wish I could remember what was said, but the resources that were in place to combat white collar crime were put straight into counterterrorism.
Yeah.
And
see, that's what I mean.
What happened from 2002?
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah.
And what do you see?
Yeah, you
the
can see
biggest period of white collar crime in the history of the world.
And that's what I mean. Like, that's exactly what I'm trying to say to you. That's the problem with this movie. they sell it as a full story when it's not. Like, The Big Short is the second part of this story.
Oh, totally.
And the third part of it is an Obama movie that isn't made yet, that Snowden kind of touches on. And if they present it in that way, it's like, well, okay, cool, this is a really good movie of the power of the US state being expanded way more than it should be. After,
but it's also, you could frame
crisis.
it easily as like the I just have this idea of like this crazy box set series where like you would have like your Reagan era film, then your Bush senior level era film, then your Clinton era. This would be your W. Bush era film. Big Short covers the period at the end of Bush and beginning of Obama. Then you have another film before Snowden, and then you have Snowden, and then you would have a Trump film. Yeah, and that's basically, and that entire series would just be called The Decline of the American Empire. Yeah,
well, see, that already exists, but it exists in, quote unquote conspiracy world, where those movies also exist for Infowars and Alex Jones and stuff, but nobody takes those seriously.
Like very measurable. I mean, America, like a lot of like America's greatness by the time Reagan got into power, regardless of whether it was his fault or not, by the time he got into power, a lot of the greatness was starting to waver and shake. Yeah. And, by the time that Reagan ended, their biggest mortal enemy, so to speak, for the guts of 50 years was defeated. And, it was left like Bush Senior with a hell of a task of going, how do I galvanize people to move on to a new enemy or onto new enemies? And that's where the war of drugs came from.
Yeah, and the censorship of media and the war on the war on crime, the war on poverty. It's like
which are all like the motif of Mussolini. Yeah, which is really interesting. Yeah, and like you just see like stuff like that happen, like this whole like crazy cycle of just. And like, by the way, I'm not saying that like because it's like Mussolini that's fascist. No, it's just like it's like authoritarians behaving like authoritarians is what it is.
Look, fascism is a totalitarianism. Communism is a totalitarianism. Corrupt democracy can also be a totalitarianism, and that's kind of what this movie touches on as well, where Cheney expanded out the loosest definitions of what's inside the US Constitution to the point of it broke. Then 9/11 happened and the Patriot Act came in and everything was expanded. To the point now where under Obama, like more executive orders were passed than anyone, and constant war through all his presidency. And then Trump's there and people are like, how did this happen? And that's what I mean, it's like it's a very complex issue of how this happened.
Yeah, and the constant the constant through line for this is just like, there's just always like an undertow of bringing the next thing forward, and with Trump, I'll give him credit. I thought he would have been impeached by now. Yeah. I cannot wait for the film that goes through his presidency, because that's going to be interesting.
But my fear on this is like, a Trump film needs to be made, but a series of Obama films need to be made first. Yeah, I don't think they will be, because for some reason he gets a pass, and I don't understand how.
Well, Clinton also got a pass.
Yeah, actually, that's something also that's very clear in the movie.
Clinton got impeached and got a pass.
It's like, how did you get a pass? I will say though, in the film, Hillary takes a bit of a beating though. Yeah, they do they make it clear that she opposed gay marriage and that she's a flip flopper, and it's like, well, at least that's fair. It's like but yeah, you're right. Actually, Clinton gets a complete pass in that movie.
Oh, totally. Yeah, but
completely. Yeah,
Clinton. But you see, the thing is as well is that like the common denominator between Obama and Clinton is that both of them had charisma, and buckets of it. Yeah, true. And, if there's one thing that America loves, it's charisma. Look at Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Charlie Sheen, if he had no money, would be in prison for murder.
Yeah,
murder.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah, if Charlie Sheen was called Charlie O'Shea, and was working in an IHOP, and he attempted to kill his girlfriend, he'd be in prison.
But not Charlie Sheen.
But not Charlie Sheen, because Charlie Sheen is a Sheen and he has money.
But anyway, to tie this up in a bow, if you're looking to see a movie this weekend, check out, or I think it's out next weekend. Yeah, it's out next weekend. Check out Vice. It's a very, very good watch and a very thought-provoking watch. But do some reading, or even watch some YouTube videos and kind of get a bit informed with everything else. Because when I was walking out, because it was a press screening, so there was loads of different people from loads of different outlets there. A lot of people did not like it for the reasons that we outlined, and I was listening to them. And usually I don't, listen to what other people say, but it's like, wow, this is going to be one of those movies that is going to be divisive, not politically. I mean, just some people like it and some people won't. And when I'm reading the reviews today, I was like, yeah, okay, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen,
Yeah. Well, I think there's also that thing as well now where I think especially because of stuff like stuff like Brexit, there is a real push for people to be like, I want something to be honest, but I also want it to be I wanted to have balanced information in it. I don't want it to just be
on one side.
Yeah, just cherry picked on one in favor of one side.
Yeah, to be fair, because
I can't speak for the film. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
but, that would be my concern with it.
I'd be the same. I like to kind of stick in the middle of the road kind of things. You know me, man. I'm a hardcore libertarian, so I'm right in the middle. And I was just like, okay, well, I can see where this is coming from, but then I can also see exactly where people are going to be upset by this, and that's what happened. It was just like, oh, okay, they walked themselves into a minefield there. And it opens with another question: was this too early to do a movie like this?
Well,
because these people are all still alive, which is
I think it's the earliest it could have been done, in the sense that it's been in the sense that it's been about coming up on 10 years.
Well, 18 years since 9/11.
Yeah, but 10 years since Cheney would have been in the office.
Yeah,
so it's. I mean, I think it's the earliest it could have been done, but it probably I think with biopics they kind of have to be a bit careful about when they come out, because they're not exactly it's not documentary.
And they make it clear at the beginning. It has a little title crawl saying, "Hey, look, we did the best we could. Cheney's really secretive. We did our best." And it's like, well, that's fair. And I'd say, look, there's a lot worse movies you could watch. I've sat through a bunch of them, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Split's coming out this year, this week as well. Looking forward. Let's say not Split, Glass. Yeah. Which is a sequel to Split. Looking forward to it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, the trailer, once they showed that they're going to have David Dunn, I was just like, I love this.
And Sarah Paulson. I'm like, love Sarah Paulson. So.
But it's the fact that it's Bruce Willis's character from Breakable in it is
oh yeah, of course, man. Well, they set that up in Glass. No, sorry, I'm getting horribly confused. They set that up in Split.
Yep.
It's it is it ties it all together. So I'm really
I'm so excited for that, because Unbreakable I watched it the weekend actually with my girlfriend, because she hadn't seen it, and
great movie.
It's still in my opinion it's the best film he's ever made. And probably will ever make. Even I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also it's not going to be as good as Unbreakable, because Unbreakable's awesome.
Yeah, but Unbreakable's such a slow burn. That's the thing. You don't expect it to be anyway as good as it is, and then it is, and you're like, oh wow, okay.
It's just so satisfying by the time it gets to the end of the film.
Great movie. One of Samuel Jackson's best performances as well, which is great.
It's one of Bruce Willis's best performances.
That's true, because it's super understated.
Yeah. Which is it's the one thing that Shyamalan does a lot with actors, is that he does get them to give really understated performances. Most over the course of his career, most of the time it hasn't worked.
You know what? The Village is a movie worth reconsidering, I think.
Yeah.
because
even with adding The Village, most of his films are still like not great.
Yeah,
I do not know how he did it, but he managed to make Will Smith not charismatic, and that's an achievement to itself. Like watching a film where you go, Marlon Wayans can act. It's a surprise here. He can actually act.
Actually, speaking of which, I have to give a shout out to Scream, the Netflix series.
I didn't even realize it was on. I thought it was just the MTV series.
Well, no, I don't know if it's on MTV or not, but I caught it on Netflix. They managed to make Scream, the concept of it, into a really engaging TV show.
That's cool.
So, I was give that a watch, man. That's pretty good. You just mentioned the Wayne's scary movie. I'm like, oh, Scream.
Yeah.
It's very fun. Has a lot of the Sabrina problems, though.
Oh, where character development just doesn't matter?
Well, see, they lampshade it all. That's the thing, because it's a parody.
Yeah.
So, like, they have the...
That can get tiring really quickly.
It doesn't, though. That's the thing. It's actually quite good. Like, the way they do it. So, they lampshade it with, like, they have the brains. They have the nerdy kind of... girl, then you have the kind of butch girl who's, in love with the nerdy girl, and then you have the boy who's kind of timid but then finds it's all that kind of stuff. But then they start dying, and it's like, oh well, okay, so they're setting this up now in a different way to kind of subvert expectations. So it does have a lot of the Sabrina problems, but the way they get around it is because they're like, hey, we know this is silly, we're trying to make it silly, so chill out.
Kind of like that knowing thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it is, talking about lampshading movies. Oh, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know what lampshading is a term where...
It's basically shining a light on...
Yeah, they're like, hey, we know this is silly, but, a wink and a nod, and then...
Yeah, like the one film that kind of did that a good bit, and people loved it, but I don't know. For me, I wasn't a big fan of it. Was Cabin in the Woods? I just felt like they tipped that hat one or two times too many for me, and I just went like, okay, this is like I know that you're trying to like be satirical, but this is like overly on the nose.
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know, I just felt like again, like Scream, I felt like was such a good balance between being an homage to films that it loved and also being on the nose about being aware of it. Whereas Cabin in the Woods is like, oh, aren't I on the nose? Here's me clearly saying as a character in the normal dialogue a standard trope. Like,
it's not that bad, but it is. It does kind of tie in.
I'm kind of over inflating it, but
I would have to say it does have the funniest hacking character in the world, though. Like it's not as bad as like CIS or whatever, where I'll splice in the CSI clip that I'm talking about. The one that I'm talking about, where it was like, I just got through the firewall. Let me put up an interface GUI and all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. It means absolutely nothing. But there's a whole character where that's his little gimmick. It's hilarious. But that's a good thing to watch on Netflix, and it's gonna be my shoe of the week. To watch.
Yeah. Oh.
But Bryn, I tell you, it's weird. Every time we start the show, it's like we're almost ready to finish it. Right? We're coming up now to the last 5 minutes, and it's the fastest show.
It's the fastest hour of the week.
It's the fastest hour of the week. It really is. And like, we literally just we have a list of topics, guys, but we just sit and shoot the what. So if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, let us know, because there is a lot to get through with certain things. But
we try making our own notes, but that just goes out at the window once one of us goes on a tangent, and that's the show over.
That's what happened. That's what happened today.
Absolutely. I did not I did not wake up this morning and go, what I want to talk about? I want to talk about about post 9/11 America. I do not want to do that today, but that happened.
Well, the folks got Linux. They got to find out about post 9/11 America. It's all a good time. So
it's all a fun time. What an hour!
What an hour! Don't worry, guys. Next week we'll keep it the superheroes. Okay.
that's not gonna happen. like guys, send us in your notes, and then we can use them, and then we could go. No, they gave us things to talk about. We have to do it. So anyway, I was having a cheese sandwich. Oh, I love cheese.
Did you know that cheese was invented? Oh no, but seriously guys, if you want to contact us, there's a bunch of ways to do it. So you can
tell us your favorite cheese.
Yeah, so what did you think about post 9/11 America? At Bryn, so at cast_Bryn, cast_cast.
That's the one.
That's
yes.
the one. So anyway, yeah, if you want to reach us,
I want to know your favorite cheese and what you thought of post 9/11 America.
Oh man, what a weird combination. So listen, the best way for you guys to reach us is to go over to www.nerdtoknowmedia.com, and that will give you our beautiful website with links to Geeks of the Industry, with links to our Twitch, show archives, iTunes, Spotify, the whole bunch, and then you can contact us directly there by clicking on the contact button, and that will open up your Gmail account, or if you can just email us directly, nerd2knowpfm@gmail.com. If you don't want to do that and rather go through the Twitter, it's at nerd2, the number 2, no 92.5. And yeah, they're the best way to reach us, or on Facebook. There's no excuse not to get involved. Bryn, before we finish up this truly bizarre edition of Nerd to Know Basis, what would you like to plug?
Geez Louise, you kind of ran through most of the plugs there, so I have no idea what I want to plug.
Right on.
Yeah, get Ubuntu. It's great.
We love Linux. We love two things here: cheese and Linux.
Yeah.
So
and like politics from a decade ago, apparently.
It's just, listen, if I could go back to one time, it would be 2002 till about 2007, and I'd just loop a Bandersnatch style there forever. That's one thing we didn't talk about. We'll talk about it next week. But until then, guys, my Twitter is at DaraWV. Of course, Bryn's Twitter, if you want to add him, is at cast_Bryn_cast. So until next week, guys, I've been Dara Connor. He's been Bryn O'Rourke. This is Nerd to Know Basis on Phoenix 92.5 FM. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.